The last World Cup of football's defining generation. The 2026 FIFA World Cup could be remembered for many things. The first 48-team World Cup. The first hosted by three countries. The largest tournament in football history. But it may also be remembered for something else, a goodbye, not to one player, not to two, but to an entire generation, a generation that has shaped football for almost 20 years. Because when the tournament begins in 2026, some of the biggest names of modern football could be making their final appearance on the world's biggest stage. And when they leave, football may never look quite the same again. Football constantly reinvents itself. New stars emerge, new teams rise, new stories are written, but every so often a generation arrives that becomes impossible to ignore. The players who emerged in the late 2000s and early 2010s did exactly that. Not because they dominated for a few seasons, because they dominated for nearly 2 decades. And at the center of it all stood two players, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. For years, football revolved around a single debate. Who was better? The debate filled stadiums, television shows, and endless conversations between fans. But the most remarkable thing wasn't their rivalry, it was their longevity. They remained at the top, while entire generations of players came and went. And by 2026, both could be taking part in their final World Cup. Yet football's story was never only about Messi and Ronaldo. Around them emerged a generation of stars who defined an era. Luka Modrić became the heartbeat of Croatia's greatest footballing generation, leading a nation of fewer than 4 million people to a World Cup final and a third-place finish. Kevin De Bruyne became one of the most complete midfielders football has ever seen, a player capable of turning a match with a single pass. Neymar carried the hopes of an entire football nation. For years, Brazil looked to him whenever the pressure was highest. Mohamed Salah transformed Egyptian football, becoming one of the most influential players Africa has ever produced. Sadio Mané helped redefine what was possible for Senegal on the global stage, and Virgil van Dijk became the foundation of both Liverpool and the Netherlands, a defender whose presence alone could change a team's identity. Different countries, different positions, different journeys, yet all connected by one thing. They became the faces of modern football. What makes 2026 so significant is that many of these players could leave the World Cup stage at the same time. Normally, football legends disappear gradually. A retirement here, a farewell match there. But this feels different because for the first time in years, an entire generation may be approaching the end together. The generation that defined football's modern era, the generation that filled highlight reels, won Champions Leagues, competed for Ballon d'Ors, and inspired millions around the world. Of course, football never stands still. While one generation prepares to leave, another is already arriving. Lamine Yamal, Jude Bellingham, Jamal Musiala, Florian Wirtz, and many more. Players who grew up watching Messi, studying Ronaldo, admiring Neymar, learning from De Bruyne, and dreaming of one day taking their place. Now that moment is coming. But replacing great players is easy. Football does it every year. Replacing a generation is much harder. Because football isn't only losing talent, it's losing familiarity. For almost 20 years, fans knew who the main characters were: Messi, Ronaldo, Modrić, Neymar, De Bruyne, Salah, Van Dijk, Mané. The same names appeared at every major tournament. The same players carried the hopes of their nations. The same stars shaped football's biggest moments. That kind of longevity is rare. That kind of influence is even rarer. Perhaps that is the true legacy of this generation. Not the goals, not the trophies, not the individual awards, but the fact that they remained relevant for so long. Across different clubs, different coaches, different football eras, they adapted, evolved, and stayed among the world's best. For nearly 2 decades, very few generations in football history can say the same. The 2026 World Cup may crown a new champion, it may introduce a new superstar, it may begin a new era, but it could also mark the end of another, the final chapter of a generation that defined modern football. A generation that inspired millions, changed expectations, and helped shape the game we watch today. Not every era knows when it's ending, but this one just might. And if 2026 truly is their final World Cup, then football fans won't just be watching a tournament, they'll be watching history say goodbye. This is Football Inc., stories behind the beautiful game.